Are you ready to go from, am I good enough, to, wait, is this even good enough for me? Welcome to the Self-Love Sessions podcast. I'm Nadja Hagen, your hostess and self-love coach for all your high-achieving women recovering from people-pleasing and ready to prioritize yourselves. In this show, I share actionable tips and tools to help you set healthy boundaries and prioritize yourself, so that you can intentionally build your life aligned with your values and finally build mutual, connected relationships without the need to pretend to be someone you're not. Let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the first episode of the new year. Happy New Year, my friend. Can you believe it? We made it to 2025, and I'm so excited to kick off this year with all of you. Whether you're tuning in for the first time or you are a loyal listener, thank you for being here. You are part of this beautiful, growing community, and I couldn't be more grateful. January is all about laying the foundation of self-love here on the podcast. And today we are diving deep into a topic that's near and dear to my heart. Break the people-pleasing cycle to unlock self-love and confidence. In this episode, I'll explore how I identify those sneaky people-pleasing patterns, unpack the cost of constantly putting others first, and, here's the best part, I'll map out the first steps to reclaiming your power, building confidence, and creating healthier boundaries in your relationships. Sound good? Let's get into it. First things first. Let's talk about what people-pleasing actually is. You've probably heard the term thrown around a lot, but here's how I define it. People-pleasing is when you prioritize the needs, wants, and expectations of others at the expense of your own well-being. It's saying yes when your gut is screaming no. It's bending over backwards to avoid conflict or to keep the peace. And it's putting on a smile even when you're overwhelmed, hurt, or exhausted. Does that sound familiar? If it does, you're not alone. People-pleasing is something so many of us, especially women, have been conditioned to do. Maybe it started in childhood when you learned that being the good girl got you praise. Or maybe it's a habit you picked up in your career or relationships, where you felt like your worth was tied to how much you could give to others, how much you could perform, how much you could provide. I've been there. I've walked that road. And let me tell you, it's exhausting. But here's the good news. You don't have to stay stuck in the people-pleasing cycle. You have the power to break free, embrace self-love, and start living life on your own terms. So, how do you know if you're caught in the people-pleasing cycle? Here are a few telltale signs to look out for. The first sign is you struggle to say no. That's a very strong indicator. Even when your plate is overflowing, you will take on one more task, one more favor, one more responsibility, because the thought of disappointing someone makes your stomach churn. The second sign to look out for is you over-apologize. You say sorry for things that aren't your fault, or you apologize for taking up space, asking for help, or setting boundaries. The third sign to look out for is that you suppress your own needs and desires. You're so focused on making others happy that you lose touch with what actually matters for you, what you actually want or need. And the fourth sign is that you seek external validation. Don't get me wrong here. We all do this from time to time. But the indicator here is to what extent you seek external validation, to what extent you need it. Your sense of self-worth is tied to how others perceive you. When someone's upset with you, it feels like the end of the world. Let me tell you here, it's not. If you're nodding along to any of these, take a deep breath. This isn't about blaming or shaming yourself. It's about awareness. You can't change what you don't acknowledge, so give yourself credit for recognizing these patterns. Awareness is the first step toward practicing self-love and reclaiming your confidence. So now let's talk about the cost of people-pleasing. Because here's the thing, people-pleasing isn't free. It comes with a price tag, and that price is often your peace, your joy, and your authenticity. Think about it. Every time you say yes to something you don't want to do, you're saying no to yourself. You're giving away your time, energy, and emotional bandwidth. Things that are precious and finite. And over time, that takes a toll. You might find yourself feeling burned out. So when you're constantly putting others first, there's no space left for you. You're running on empty, and that's not sustainable. You might also feeling resentful. Deep down, you might feel frustrated or unappreciated because your efforts aren't being reciprocated or acknowledged. You might also feel disconnected. By prioritizing others' needs over your own, you're losing touch with who you are and what truly matters to you. The cost is real and it's heavy. But here's the flip side. The rewards of breaking free from people-pleasing are equally real and so worth it. By setting boundaries and embracing self-love, you are creating space for healthier relationships and more confidence in your daily life. All right, let's shift gears and talk about solutions. How do you start breaking the people-pleasing cycle? Here are 3 powerful first steps. The first step is practice saying no. Start small. Maybe it's turning down an invitation to an event you're not excited about, or declining a request that doesn't align with your priorities. Remember, no is a complete sentence. You don't have to justify or explain yourself. The second first step is check in with yourself. Before agreeing to something, pause and ask yourself, do I really want to do this? Does this align with my values and goals? Do I have the capacity to take this on? If the answer is no, honor that. This is a key act of self-love and a way to strengthen your confidence. The third step is set boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are bridges to healthier relationships. I repeat this because it's so important. Boundaries are not walls. They are bridges to healthier relationships. They protect your energy and clarify what's okay and what's not. Start by setting one small boundary and sticking to it. For example, I don't check work emails after 6 p.m. That's an excellent boundary. These steps might feel uncomfortable at first, and that's okay. Growth always feels like a little awkward. But with practice, they'll become second nature. And as you reclaim your power, you'll notice something incredible. You'll feel lighter, freer, and more aligned with who you truly are. And when you operate from a place of self-love, you're creating a ripple effect in all your relationships. Before we wrap up, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've covered today. First, we've defined people-pleasing and uncovered how it shows up in everyday life. Then we explored the heavy costs of constantly putting others first. Costs like burnout, resentment, and disconnection. After that, we moved into solutions, identifying those people-pleasing patterns, taking the first steps to reclaim your power, and learning how to say no. Check in with yourself and set boundaries. These are actionable steps you can take today to move closer to a life of self-love, confidence, and healthier relationships. You're already doing the work by showing up and listening, so give yourself some credit for that. Breaking the people-pleasing cycle isn't easy, but it's one of the most empowering things you can do for yourself. Remember, self-love isn't selfish. It's necessary. When you prioritize your well-being, you are not only showing up for yourself, you are showing up as the best, most authentic version of you for the people you care about. If this episode resonated with you, I want to hear from you. Send me a message, leave a review, or share this episode with someone who needs it. Let's start this new year strong together. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Until next time, take care of yourself and remember, you are enough just as you are. Embracing self-love is the ultimate way to nurture your confidence, honor your boundaries, and build meaningful relationships. You got this. I talk to you in the next episode. Thank you for tuning into today's episode. If you're ready to dive deeper into setting boundaries, knowing exactly when and how to communicate them so they stick, I've got something for you. Head over to nadjahagen.com/boundaries-checklist and grab your free 8 Steps to Healthy Boundaries checklist for high-achieving women, so you feel confident in every interaction. This is my thank you for listening and a way to keep supporting you beyond the self-love sessions. I can't wait to chat again in the next episode.